clock on the wall says it's 4 o'clock. Calling to order the July 23rd, 2013 council study session for the City of SeaTac. Thank you for coming to participate at the council study session. Your comments are valuable and we ask that you address the entire council. Please be advised that SeaTac City Council meetings are recorded live and will air on Channel 21 CTV, the city's government access channel, and can also be viewed on the city website. Also, council will not be able to respond to your questions or comments at this time. However, staff will look into questions or concerns you have and will get back to you. If you have handouts, please provide them to the city clerk prior to speaking. We've got 10 minutes. Do we have a... There's nobody signed up, so we will move on to our first agenda bill. Agenda Bill 3534, a motion authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Washington State Department of Transportation for the connecting 28th, 24th Avenue South project. Assistant City Engineer Florendo Cabedal. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, council members. Before I present the agenda bill, I wanted to, if I may, present a status update on where we are on our project. On your screens here, you see there's a vicinity map just to orientate you with the project. The yellow section is the proposed road connecting 28th, 24th Avenue project, which starts at where it currently dead ends just south of 200th Street and 26th Avenue South, and continues on and tying into 24th Avenue South at South 208th Street. I wanted to talk a little bit about our funding for the project. The city staff is currently pursuing a grant with the Transportation Improvement Board that's due in August for this project. And this will be in addition to the funding that we've already, that has been committed to the project. There's a $2.5 million grant from the Freight Mobility Strategic Investment Board and a $3.8 million contribution agreed to from Sound Transit as a mitigation for the Angle Lake Light Rail Station. In addition to pursuing this funding, this staff's also been working on securing land rights for the project. The major one is with the, been having ongoing discussions with the Port of Seattle for this section of the road here that goes through the old Town and Country Mobile Home Park. And so we've been having active discussions with the port on how to secure those land rights for the project. We've also are identifying and finalizing our right-of-way needs elsewhere on the project, particularly on the south end here as you approach 208th Street. We have several parcels here to the east, and then the Port of Seattle owns this large parcel here to the west. The right-of-way needs here range from 5 feet to a 50-foot strip, wide strip. So in addition to that work, we've been progressing along with our schedule, and we've just completed our 30% design for the project. With the 30% design, we've established a few things. We've established compatibility with the feature SR 509, which is this dark blue shaded area right here. This actually shows the limits of the 509 right away, but with the 30% design, we've established compatibility both horizontally and vertically, make sure we have the appropriate clearances and we're on the appropriate alignment that ties into the feature 509. We have also established a road cross section with the adequate number of through lanes and left and turn lanes as well. in addition to non-motorized facilities and pedestrian facilities along the project corridor. There's also some streetscape improvements that will be included with the road section as well. We've also established a 30% level preliminary construction cost estimate for the project. The amount estimated to construct this project is at $18.1 million, and that amount will continue to be refined as the design progresses and gets refined. Along with completing the 30% design, staff's also been coordinating with other stakeholders on the project, namely the Port of Seattle, and some interested private owners that are looking at some potential development. And I've highlighted them in light purple here, some potential development sites. And so we're engaging with them and seeing what their needs for access would be to the project. We're also currently readying ourselves for a environmental submittal, which is being submitted in August, in hopes of determination here by October. And that segues into the need for this memorandum of understanding between the city and the state. It would memorialize several important project-related understandings and agreements. That's an important component with our environmental submittal. So with that, the MOU would. So the agenda bill is a motion authorizing the city manager to execute an MOU between the WashDOT and the city. The MOU addresses several important issues that the city and WashDOT both agree and understand. These issues include an understanding that the project, constructing the 24th Avenue South project now would improve access and circulation for the Angle Lake Station, would build a parallel principal arterial to International Boulevard that would help improve mobility and relieve congestion on International Boulevard, and would also promote the regional need to fund completion for the SR 509 corridor. The MOU would also state that the city agrees to construct the project based on the selected alternative as described in the 2003 record of decision for the SR 509 corridor completion project. And this is important because it memorializes that our project will be forward compatible whenever 509 is built, or with the ultimate build out of 509. The MOU would also say that the city understands that the traffic operations on the new roadway, the new 24th Avenue South, will be disrupted when construction of the 509 project commences through the road embankment section. So currently the project is designed with using a fill section through this area of the project here. What that means is the road will be built on fill at a certain about 50 feet up in the air of where the current grade is in this area. So the MOU would state that the city would expect a disruption to traffic through that embankment area when 509 is built. And the last item is that the city and the state would understand that WashDOT will remove the road embankment section through the 509 corridor and construct a structure to carry the 28th, 24th Avenue South traffic over 509 at no cost to the city. So this MOU is important to memorialize these items, and it's important to include with our documents for our environmental submittal for the project. Approving this MOU now would help us preserve our schedule to be able to bring this project to advertising for bids and starting construction in early 2015. And with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Let's go, since Terry's got her hand up, let's go to the right this time.
When this project is starting to get underway, or before you do that, are you going to come in and show us how these people are going to get around out there without clogging the streets and the neighborhoods and God knows what else?
Yes, we expect to have at least 2 open houses.
Because I can just see this just be a really hard thing to move, especially at 6 o'clock at night.
Right. Are you referring to when 509, when the road is built and 509 is scheduled to be constructed? Yeah, I would anticipate a whole lot of public outreach prior to that work happening.
Just to be clear, that road doesn't exist today, so.
I just rode that last night, and believe me, it's packed.
Yeah, we're building this one.
I know what it is.
It doesn't exist right now.
I know, but it's still.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
With this segment here, the existing 24th Ave South, is that what you would be referring to?
Other questions? Down this way? Mr. Ladenburg.
Yes, thank you. I know this kind of marries up with the Des Moines project that they have going on. What's the timeline for theirs? Is it going to be about, are we going to be behind them or ahead of them, or?
That's correct. We'll be building this project behind their project. I think they just opened bids last Thursday on the 18th, and then if it's awarded or when it's awarded, we expect them to start construction here within the next couple months or so. And I think I believe it's a 12 to 18 month duration on that project. And
Well, okay, I just didn't know if there'd be any cost savings with, I mean, someone's building the road up to this point,
right.
and then we're going to continue on. Is there any, talking to the same companies about maybe continuing on and maybe a cost savings if one company's doing it?
Yes, we've been coordinating with the city of Des Moines and their designer on just making sure that we are connecting and transitioning to their road section. In terms of cost savings, are you referring to trying to advance this project to get it on the same contract to have them build, or?
Right, same, yeah, construction
Contractor.
team. Yeah, obviously, if I'm going to build 10 miles of road, I can probably build 12 miles of just a little bit cheaper than someone coming in just building 2 miles.
Right. And that's true. I don't think the project is at that stage yet. It's very early in the design process of our project that.
Well, I hope that's something you guys consider.
We
Thank
would
you.
consider, yeah.
I could anticipate the contractor potentially bidding on our project, understanding that they're
Right.
already building that segment. There may be some savings they can recognize there.
That's a good point. I think it would be in their interest to maximize their efficiencies and savings by.
The mobilization.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, that's all I asked. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions on this end? Assuming that, and I guess, is it a correct assumption that WashDOT has a similar agreement with Des Moines?
I don't believe so, because their section of the road does not go through 509.
Okay, I get it. Okay. What, and just for my clarification, as we're going south on, 28th, it slides over, turns into 24th, and then it meets up with 208.
Yes.
Where does the city end on that? On which side of the street?
Technically, we end on the north side of 208th, but we'll have to go into the south leg, into Des Moines' portion of the road to transition, to make the necessary pavement markings and channelization work, transition into our new road section.
Okay, okay. But technically the city ends.
Our road ends on the north leg,
side.
yes.
Okay, because I look at, 200th and Des Moines Way, and the challenge is about that little intersection there, and
Yes.
I'm indignant that we have to take care of 3 of them, and they have to take care of 1 of them, so, anyway, okay, that answers my question. Other questions for Florendo? What's council's pleasure on this? Move it to the consent agenda?
Yeah, that seems fine.
Seeing so, we'll move to the consent agenda of the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda Bill 3532, a motion authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with JMAR AV for council chambers, courtroom, executive conference room, audiovisual modification, city clerk, and city manager, or excuse me, facilities manager.
Oh, you guys got promoted.
It was a Freudian slip.
Okay, this has been a long time coming, but hopefully we're finally there. The majority of the AV equipment in use in the council, court, and executive conference rooms is the original equipment from 12 years ago. It is worn, outdated, and in need of repair and replacement. The city solicited proposals under RCW 9.04.270, which allows for competitive negotiations with contractors for design and installation of electronic equipment. The city received 2 proposals. These 2 contractors, JMark AV and AVI SPL, were asked to present to a 4-member interview panel. That was Pat Patterson, Bart Perman, Marcia Rugg, and myself. After extensive review, JMark AV was selected as the more desirable contractor. The contractor will provide a complete and operable system, including but not limited to equipment changing the entire system from analog to digital format, new microphones at both the dais and the lower floor area for workshop setups, additional ceiling speakers integrated into a system that allows for higher volume with no feedback, new widescreen format projectors and screens for all 3 rooms, and equipment that allows for easy remote council meeting participation by council members and staff. This contract also provides for maintenance on the entire system for 2 years. The base price for the modifications is $92,000. With sales tax, the total amount of the bid is $100,740. The budget appropriation for this project is $100,000. The remaining $740 can be taken from the budgeted Capital Facilities Fund number 301 ending fund balance.
Ms. Patterson, do you have any comments, or are you just taking questions?
I'm just here to support Christina, and obviously it's a long time in coming. There's always been issues with the sound in this room, so I think it's a wise thing to do.
Question for Mr. Patterson, or City Clerk. A question? Come on. Pam, please.
Whoever wants to answer. Does this mean, it must mean that since we have the bid, they've come in here, they know what the acoustics are, so they're going to put in something, I mean, because this is like a big cavern, so we're going to be guaranteed with the new system, people in the back can hear us from now on and all that?
Yeah, they're going to, first of all, they think that it's never been adjusted correctly. Secondly, he thinks there's not enough speakers in the ceiling. So, and then there's another sort of a system called Mix Minus, which allows the speakers where you're nearest the microphone that's being used will actually the volume will go down there and it'll go up other places. So it should take care of the sound issues here.
Sounds
I mean, that was one of the things that we impressed upon them, that we needed to resolve that, and they felt they would be able to take care of that.
Sounds good, thank you.
Other questions at this end? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just a quick question. What would it take to retrofit our existing system with those changes that you just mentioned?
To retrofit our,
To put more speakers and have it calibrated, and I'm just curious.
well, that's part of the whole package, so I don't
Okay.
know what part of that is the package.
Okay.
Barry.
Oh, I just couldn't help myself. Yeah, I just had a question, a couple questions here. One is the microphones, are these wired mics, or are we gonna have
Yeah,
wireless mics now? or-
They'll be wired. There'll be two sets of mics. There'll be ones up here at the dais, and then there are the ones that are going to be placed down here for the impromptu study sessions that happen here on the floor. And those are going to be different in that they'll be using a Cat5 cable, which means they're linked together, and there's only one link to the floor, so you don't have all these cords going all over the place. And depending upon how the speaker system works, they have microphones that have speakers in them, so the person that's sitting there can actually hear what's being said from the other microphones. It was demonstrated to us, so it worked pretty nicely, actually,
Without feedback, huh?
without feedback.
Huh. Okay, and also the white screens, because we've had a number of meetings in here, and these screens seem a little small when they put maps and stuff up there. What size are the white screens? Are they gonna be bigger than these current
Well, the
units?
screens are just the ones in the ones that roll down out of the ceiling.
This one here?
Yeah, not the TV screens,
Oh, so it says
just the
that we're having
projector screens.
additional white screens, not in this
Yeah,
room.
they'll be wider, the wider format.
They're replacement ones.
For one screen.
One screen in here, one in the executive conference, and one in
Oh,
the
I see.
courtroom.
I tried, okay. And what is the 301 fund?
Municipal
301.
CIP fund?
That's a municipal fund, okay, for this, okay. That's all, thank you.
Any questions down here? Please.
Just a follow-up. So did I hear you say that each microphone also has a speaker in it so that we can hear the rest?
That's correct.
Did you try that out? I mean,
Yes,
did
they
you
came
say-
in and did a demonstration, and I'd say we were really impressed.
Was that for the ones up top, or?
That's for the ones primarily
Down
down here,
below.
but they'll also use them up there if needs be. They're going to start by putting more speakers in the ceiling, and if that doesn't solve the problem, then they'll be using those microphones up there as well.
Man, that would be awesome. Because, you watch the video, and even though you can't hear what your comrade says down at the other end, when you watch the video, you can hear everything plain as day. So people probably wonder, why are they saying, huh? That would be great.
We expect big things out of them.
Thank you.
Now, we've got a bid, but they haven't done the design yet, right?
It's sort of a design build type situation.
Okay, taking into consideration is there an opportunity for folks up here to give suggestions? Like-
Not without changing the price tag.
Oh, done, noted.
We'll give you suggestions after it's completed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I don't know if I got special treatment or what, but I did participate with some of the early on. I mentioned to Christina that I kind of a tech nerd, right? And
Why
so
did you get special treatment?
I don't know, well, she invited me to
You
come
did.
and help with some of the early negotiations on what was included here, so.
Oh, good.
I've already done that.
Are you, I'll just ask you, Tech Nerd, are you satisfied with what we're,
Yeah, I like the direction this is going, thank you.
and you think other folks up here will like it?
I believe so, yeah.
All right.
It's certainly a lot better than what we've got now, that's for sure, yeah.
All right, well,
Thank you.
that's good enough for me. Any other questions? Please.
No, I've been here.
Okay, what's council's pleasure on this? Do I have consent to move it to the 8/13 of 2013 regular council agenda? Consent agenda?
It's good enough for Rick.
Good enough. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Consent
you.
agenda.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Moving on to presentations. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Thank you, Madam Clerk. City's alignment and improvement efforts. City Manager Todd Cutts and Assistant City Manager Gwen Popel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. as Gwen is pulling this up, just wanted to let you know we are here to provide you a brief update on what's going on with the city's Align and Improve efforts. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, and we're hot and heavy on the work piece for this. We have a contract with Integris that was approved in November of 2012 by the council. We've been working continuously to move the organization forward in a strategic manner since then, and wanted to just give you a sense of where we're at today. A lot of hard work has been done to date, and wanted to give you a feel for that. I did want to, on behalf of your leadership team here at the city and all the city employees, thank the council for committing significant resources to this effort. As we move through the presentation, I hope and I think you'll agree that we've made and will continue to make significant strides towards improving the efficiency and the effectiveness of your organization. So with that, Gwen and I are going to kind of tag team this presentation, and she's going to highlight the agenda for the presentation first.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council members. Here's just a quick overview of what we're going to cover over the next 30 minutes or so, a little bit shorter if I talk fast, which I tend to do. Starting with kind of reminding us all of the purpose and outcomes as originally presented to the council, some of the foundational documents, the work done to date, which is in draft form, but we want to share it with you, and then kind of the work ahead through the end of the year. So to kind of reset ourselves in time with what our purpose was, you can see here our overall first goal was to focus on what we want to achieve, making sure that we were all aligned, working in the same direction, meeting the council goals, meeting the organizational goals. Second, putting in place a performance management system so that we can measure success. How are we meeting our goals? How can we improve? And then the last section, which we're about ready to embark on, and I'll get into that in the timeline, is how do we improve those results? How do we provide these services better and more efficiently to the citizens? The outcomes we hope to see, first of all, are kind of the line of sight from the top of the organization, city council, your vision, your goals, on through to the people doing the day-to-day work, aligning ourselves so that we're rowing in the same direction together. If we do that and we focus on the things that add value to our customers, then we feel like we will improve the customer service standard in the city and raise resident satisfaction. We also want to, of course, streamline our processes to take out non-value added activities, wasteful steps that we might not even see day to day, but we will as we go through this process improvement effort. And then by involving our employees in those process improvement efforts and in these efforts to date, and removing frustrating steps, hopefully we will increase job satisfaction, which, as we all know, also leads to very high-performing organizations. Just a reminder that the foundation for our work is these documents up here, starting first and foremost with the council vision and goals. You took the first steps when you set your council vision in place and goals, and we keep those top of mind throughout this whole process. We also keep in mind the SWOT analysis that you did, and you might recall that we double-checked that with you earlier this year at one of your retreats to make sure that still rang true. We also have our resident survey, our comprehensive plan vision, our employee survey, which of course we just wrapped up earlier this year, which was our first piece of work in this effort, and then the departmental goals. So here is a template that we've been building out. This is how we're building our strategic management system. You can see here that it's kind of at a glance how we operate. Includes the vision, the mission, what we do, how we do it, and for whom. The values, what Chief Snyder liked to call the DNA of the organization, what guides us when we might not have rules in place, and how we perform, how we interact with each other, with citizens, how we get our work done. The top 3 to 5 year goals that we want to concentrate on. And those goals, we wanted to make sure every employee could see themselves in. Every employee should have a link to one of those goals, and we feel like we've achieved that, even in draft form. And then the key measures. This might be what a lot of you have heard about called the balanced scorecard. So when we look at key measures, we look at a balance of customer measures, budgetary measures, process measures such as cycle time, and then learning and growth measures. So we've been working on building out this template at the leadership team level and then checking it with the departments over the past few months as a piece of our work.
So where the rubber meets the road for the city of SeaTac, a lot of work has gone into hours. In fact, your leadership team sitting down and discussing what Gwen just mentioned, the vision, the mission, the values, goals, key measures, as well as initiatives. We have also discussed what the leadership team came up with our staff in each department as each department sat down and talked about what was developed. And Gwen will talk a little bit later about what we call the catch ball process to make sure we're getting feedback on all of this from employees within the city of SeaTac so they feel engaged, they feel like they're part of this process, and they have some ownership over part of this process as well. So you see this work at a high level. You'll recognize in the top left corner the vision that the council worked through a couple of years ago now. That's really where we started this. Gwen also mentioned the input of the SWOT analysis as well, and we certainly use that and all those other foundational pieces that you mentioned. Everything that we do in this process really supports reaching that vision that you set out for the city of SeaTac, that aspirational statement that this is what we are in 2050, looking forward as that aspirational statement. And I'll talk a little bit more in a bit about how we see ourselves in that vision, how we engage our employees and help them to understand and really feel part of that vision as those that are making it happen within the organization. We're still having a discussion about all of these. For example, within the mission statement, we think being a good steward of public trust is vital to who we are, how we operate. We're not sure that we like the word steward as a verb in our mission. So those are kind of some of the tweaks we're still making on this right now. Under values, and we'll talk a little bit more and have a more detailed slide on that, we're still getting input from staff on this. One example is we've heard from various staff members that somehow we need to incorporate the value of innovation within this strategic management system in order to accomplish what the council is looking for us to accomplish and reach that vision. Each of these goals we have more detailed initiatives for, new actions to support the goals, daily work that supports the goals and potential measures in draft. We're still working at refining these initiatives, both from a citywide perspective and a department perspective, and the measures. And Gwen mentioned that's really the targets that we're working towards. We're building this out right now, but again, we wanted to come to you with kind of a midterm update and let you know what we're working on and where we're at. So next, I'm just going to go into some detail on some of these. So again, the vision statement that the council came up with, SeaTac's a premier global community offering a solid, sustainable economy, healthy, inclusive, and vibrant quality of life. We have had discussions at the leadership and departmental levels about what this vision means to us as an organization. How do we connect to what the council set out as that vision? Right now, what we're working on is finding creative ways to connect our employees to the vision. So we've been discussing how we do that. Our next step in this process, still under development at this point, and we frankly would love to hear your thoughts on it. Right now, what we're brainstorming is a creative exercise that will create a sketch, and we're not talking about an architectural sketch here, more of a sketch that captures the ideas behind your vision really in one place that our employees can connect to. We would plan on starting with a 90-minute employee workshop or workshops where they could bring the words and images to that workshop that they feel like connect to that vision and create flip charts capturing their ideas. Once we complete that process, we would be bringing those employee-created flip charts to the City Council at a study session in this setting. We'd want to hear from you which images or concepts are key to you that we should include in that final sketch. And from there, we would create a summary sketch that we could use in newsletters to potentially display in council chambers or in the lobby of City Hall, whatever means that we would want to use to make sure that vision feels real for those coming into City Hall, for you as council members, for our employees that are trying to build to that vision every day as we go about our everyday work. So this is just an example of it. We've had a couple conversations with a professional that goes out to workshops and creates this sort of artwork We think we would incorporate potentially some more kind of literal images within it. But this is the sort of thing, really bringing that vision to life so that when someone sees this and they come into the city, they understand, okay, I can grasp that vision. I know what it means. It's illustrated for me instead of words on paper, which is good, but how do we bring that to life? So it captures, in this particular case, what this artist did was they were working on the Aging Your Way Community Summits. It was sponsored by AARP, Providence United Way, and some other groups as well. So just kind of an illustration of what we could be looking at going forward here.
Did you draw this little thing for us here?
Could I draw that? I don't think you want me drawing that. I could use the words, but I'm not quite the artist. So at this point, I just want to pause and take any input that you have. Are we hitting the mark with this? I know for us, it just felt like, how do we really bring this to life so our staff understands it and they get the chance to give input on this?
Pam, please.
Back on the strategic management page, strategic management system page, under values there, when you said someone suggested innovation, that you add innovation, I would suggest transparency be added as well.
And okay, we'll certainly take note of that. When we also have a slide on values in particular that's coming up after this that kind of defines those, lends some definitions to those values that you see up on the page.
Is transparency in there? I think
you
the word
flip
should
to that,
be
Gwen?
The term should be there, in my opinion. And then that cartoon that you just had up there, I'm just speaking for myself as an aging boomer. I'm not crazy about it, but that's just my input.
So I guess first point, under accountability, you do see we embrace transparency, responsibility, and ownership in our decisions and actions. So that was part of the definition of accountability?
I think transparency should have its own, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'm only one.
Okay.
I think it should have its own dot, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think it should be rolled into anything else. I think it should stand alone. That's what I think.
Let's flip that.
Other comments? Mr. Glattenberg.
Well, yeah, I think that transparency is part of accountability, so I think that is correct. That's how you get to accountability, is by being. I said I think transparency is part of accountability, so I think they have it set up right. Actually, my opinion is they have it set up right because you need the transparency to have the accountability. So.
I just would like
one of the things, though, you've got a number of goals in here, and I assume we're also going to develop ways of tracking those goals to see if we're meeting them, which is probably coming out later.
Yeah, well, and so what I wanted to discuss first, we have slides in back of this talking about the values, the goals, the measures, the initiatives, all those things that I will be discussing as part of this presentation. I just was hoping to pause at this point and just talk about kind of that visioning exercise. Is this something that council feels like, hey, that's a good process. We'd like to see something like this come back to us. We'd like to see some life breathed into our vision statement.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I think people learn in many ways. So, so that's fine with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Terry.
Todd, would it be asking a lot to get sort of a time frame of each step of this process for us so that we could just don't come in here one day and find, the Taj Mahal sitting out here?
There is actually a timeline that's, I think, the last or second to last slide in the process, and Gwen will be going over that.
Okay, thanks.
Other comments?
Yeah, I have one more little one.
Dave, did you have a comment?
Yes. I think it's good that we have employee engagement on this. I think any time that you can listen to them and they feel like they're part of what's going on is important. And also the people that are actually doing the work, a lot of times they have a better handle on what management does on how to save money and time and just efficiency in general. So I'm a big proponent of that. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the visual component because I think we all know that there's a lot of us that learn through a visual. And at any point in time, if you are using the equity lens, if you could point that out too, I'd like to see where you're using an equity lens through this work.
Thank you.
Rick, you got a comment?
Yeah, thank you. So Todd and Gwen, there are portions of this that are just music to my ears. I liked the I like the parts about streamlining processes, reducing errors, eliminating non-value-added activities. I haven't seen the word lean in here, but many times these sorts of exercises include the word lean, and the reason is that you're trying to cut back on things, on the non-value-added activities.
I can't hear you, Rick.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just I wanted to emphasize the importance for lean, meaning that we eliminate non-value-added portions of that. There's organizations that have tried to implement some of this that have treated it as a project separate than changing the way you do business. And in those cases, what it is it becomes sort of just another add-on rather than actually changing the core way you work. And that's usually a mistake. It just costs extra money, and it's kind of a facade for things. Where it actually changes the way you do things, and you start eliminating non-value-added stuff. That's where it starts making a big difference, and you can realize huge savings. 20% is not is actually pretty common in savings for these kind of programs. And so I would like to emphasize more of the effort of trying to the alignment portion, looking at what's value added for the community is great. I think the survey was part of that. I think another good thing to look at is other communities that have done this. Look at the things that they've eliminated, because from the inside, many times we'll get an idea. This is what we need to be doing, but from the outside, they think, why are they? We have no interest in that. Why are they doing that? So looking at other communities that have implemented process improvement and lean type projects is a good place to look for as a resource for what can be eliminated as a non-value added task. Anyway, but if you're looking for feedback from us, whether you're in the right direction, I would say yes. It looks good to me.
Great, thank you.
And I was thinking that lean is kind of an overarching alignment and improvement. It's the overarching theme in this whole thing.
Well, we do get to that piece as part of the presentation as well.
And
we will talk about that.
And again, that lean doesn't equal cutbacks. It means increased accountability, increased efficiency, increased effectiveness. Am I correct in that? I was from the lean guy that came out and spoke to us. That was my little takeaway.
Sure. I think it certainly can mean different things to different people. But from our perspective, the way we've talked about that topic to the City Council is there's a lot of work on all of our desks right now that is piled up that some of it we're just putting out fires half the time, and we have trouble getting to the stuff that's the proactive good stuff that really makes a difference in the community. And our sense of the lean process will be it'll lean the processes out that'll enable us to get to that stuff that is productive and proactive within the community. So that's
second round. Go ahead.
I'll just say it's about prioritizing. And yes, well, anyway, I am very passionate about this kind of stuff myself because I was heavily involved with it when I worked at Boeing. And I'm excited that you guys have started to embrace this and that you've been working so hard on it. It really makes my heart go pitter-pat.
Thank you.
So I think it's great, and I think you guys will love it. And you do have to make it part of the everyday routine. You can't just look at it as a project. Sure. And pretty soon it'll just become a way of life, and you'll think, wow, how did we ever work without this? And then the last thing I'd like to say is just for future use, like this is 13 pages, and you asked for some input, and so I'd kind of like to have it ahead of time if I could, if I really want to give you any useful input or comments, I'll say. So something like this next time, maybe if I could see it ahead of time in email or something, would be great.
We can discuss.
And again, we're only halfway through this, so
if that.
Okay.
Well, and so
forging,
yeah,
unless actually it's hold our comments till the next time that he's got another break.
I won't take a breath.
Okay, well then, forge ahead.
Thank you. So the next piece of the strategic management system is the mission statement. I won't take the time to read that to you, but again, what we did was we took in all those inputs that Gwen had mentioned earlier, and we started by coming up with some real key words that we felt like needed to be included in that mission statement. Some of those words that you'll find in there are trust, value, responsible, safe, sustainable, partnership, and community. Really, you might be surprised at how long it took us to really weave this statement together. A lot of work in session and out of session with a little subcommittee of folks as well, and making sure that we got this right. And we're still not sure it's 100% exactly right at this time, but we're still having that conversation with the entire organization to make sure that the organization can take a look at this, each employee, and say, I see myself in this statement. I understand how I'm going to perform based on what I see here, based on what I see in the values. So the next is the values, and we talked a little bit about that, but service, integrity, teamwork, and accountability here. So from a service perspective, delivering effective, quality, enduring service to all. Integrity, maintaining a foundation of trust by being honest, respectful, true to our word. Teamwork, we work together to accomplish great results by valuing and respecting each other, being empathetic and communicating openly. And then last, accountability, so the transparency piece, responsibility, and ownership in our decisions and our actions. So there are a lot of cases here where we have policies and procedures that are put in place for staff that are easy to understand, whether it's at a citywide level, whether it's at a department level, but there are a lot of cases where we don't, and there's discretion involved. So really looking through this lens of the values that are important within our organization, and we're having an interesting conversation right now as an organization about, do we live up to these values today? Are these aspirational values? Is it somewhere in between? We certainly want to get there, and we're moving in that direction, but first we had to start this conversation. So 3 to 5 year goals. And again, these are goals for the city administration, the organization. The first goal is to achieve the city council objectives. So again, those are, in a nutshell, the healthy community goal, 154th, 176th, enhancement of code enforcement, get 509 built and advocate for that, and economic development overall for the community. So that's first and foremost on our list here. Other than that, they're not necessarily in priority order, but the enhancement of our community, working hand in hand with the community to create that safe, active, attractive city. And again, that speaks to the vision statement and really kind of looks up to that as far as the line of sight is concerned. Employee engagement overall. So we're going to be most productive as a city and get the most things done to create the most benefit for our residents, for our businesses, if we have employees that are engaged in what they're doing. And that's a big part of this process, is making sure they're energized, they're engaged, and every step of this is about being deliberate and seeking out that input from the employees. And you talk about, Councilmember Fernald referenced creating that culture. And we are at the initial steps right now of creating that culture where employees do feel engaged. Our first step was for the leadership team to meet and develop some of this in a draft format. And then we went out to employees, and I think some light bulbs went off with our staff about, hey, I get what we're trying to do here. We are involved as part of this process. They are seeking our input. And we're starting to see that energy build from my perspective, and that's certainly a good thing. So the last 2 3 to 5 year goals, build infrastructure and promote development or economic development. That's pretty evident what that means. And then sustaining financial health overall. When you look at our neighboring cities, we're certainly in good shape from a fiscal perspective, but we want to make sure we ensure that moving forward with a balanced, healthy, stable financial future to enable the delivery of services for our citizens. So next is the initiatives piece. These are actions that we're planning on taking in the next 6 to 18 months to improve our achievement of the goals that we just talked about. Your leadership team developed a long list of possible initiatives. We're working on refining those initiatives, but we also wanted to be realistic in what we selected as far as those initiatives were concerned so that we could achieve those. We didn't want to put a list of 25 initiatives together. We obviously all have a lot going on day to day, and we wanted to make sure we can achieve what we put on paper. So these are the 4 that we settled on really as 3 to 6 month initiatives that we're working through right now. still working through who in particular is on point for these initiatives, culling down our lists of potential actions under these initiatives. An example of that would be, obviously, to do anything about the first bullet there, enhanced communication with council, we need to hear more from you about what we can do to improve our communications with the city council. In the meantime, we're moving forward with the last two bullets, improve internal communication in particular. We have developed a new internal employee newsletter that we send out every Monday morning. We have our leadership team meetings with all our department heads every Monday morning, and we ask department heads to submit by 5 o'clock on Friday anything that they feel like employees citywide would like to know about what's going on in their department. And that's something we heard from our employees, that they don't know kind of within the organization what's going on department by department. So that's something we refine at the team meeting, and then we kind of push send and give kudos to Gwen for developing that format for us. And we've got good response from our employees about hearing what's going on within the organization. We call it CTAC snapshots. We also, I personally am working on more frequent emails to all staff just about various issues that may come up over the course of a week, whether it's the initiative that's in the works right now and what's going on with that, or any other pertinent issue of the day. Also just from my perspective, walking around, being present, chatting with our employees, developing those relationships. I've always tried to do that, but really been emphasizing that as we go through this process. Councilmember Forstler referenced the process improvement piece, lean in particular. That is, a 3 to 6 month initiative for us, and we'll be working through that in the next 4 months. Actually, working on probably 4 pilot projects from a lean perspective, and working to make sure that those are value-added processes that we're refining that are going to make a difference here in our city operations. And our intention there is to, again, create that culture so people are looking to make the improvements that are value-added, stuff that they're doing every day. A good example is our development permits. I'm not an expert on how a development permit is routed, but we have a lot of people that are. Those are the people that need to be empowered and engaged in order to give that input on those permits, and that's the process we're going through right now. We'll be looking at these initiatives at least quarterly to see, as these are underway, in performing, what we might be able to pick up citywide. I do want to just go back for a moment to the first bullet, enhancing communication with council, and I think this can, we don't need to have a comprehensive list tonight, but did want to pause again and take a breath and just understand from council if there's anything top of mind that we could do better as far as our communications with council moving forward.
You're not taking a break for comments on this, are you?
I was planning on it.
Okay. Comments
whether
on
it's
how,
now or another time, certainly.
No,
so.
I'm tormenting you. Comments for the city manager on enhanced communications with council. Terry, you had a comment. You asked me about this a while back.
Microphone, please. Oh, pardon me. Okay. It wasn't so much a comment, it was a request. And having lived with someone who, when you'd come home and you'd find the fireplaces in a different room, would be nice if you could keep us apprised, because if the public comes in and sees something and asks us, it would be nice for us to know, well, that's perfectly all right, that room's closed for an hour for this going down. What I've just skim over each council meeting just slightly, what we might hear from the public, because there's nothing worse than standing there dumb in the grocery store.
Sure.
Okay?
Good thing for enhanced communication.
Thank you.
Pam, you had a comment.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what Terry said, so I hope I don't repeat anything, but a couple of things that I think are good are the council information request process that we have. I've always been very happy with that. You guys are very responsive, where you are, and then the rest of the staff to that. Also, I've always really appreciated Chief Gradden and now Chief Mulligan's input whenever there is a situation going on around in the city, because people do call us and think that we have all the answers, no matter what time of the day it is. And I feel like I need to have all the answers, or at least know where to point them if I don't have the answer. So those are good, though. Those are good ones. And So here's an example of one I was cursing all the way up 188th tonight because I would have liked a heads up that there was all that work. The traffic was backed up all the way to Highway 99 heading east all the way down to the freeway, one lane, and I probably would have gone the other direction had I realized it was very backed up today. So just something like that, if somebody can shoot out a little email or something, and or put it on the website so that the citizens can see it too.
Okay.
But just being kept in a loop for things that would affect the greater community so that when we are approached by citizens, you know, obviously we can't know everything that goes on in the administration. We don't need to know. But if it's something, you know, you think to yourself, citizens might want to know this, then you know, something like that I'd like to hear about too, so I can at least say, well, this is what I know, this is what I've heard. You can call City Hall and find out more or whatever.
Thank you. And I'll take that back to the leadership team too, who, you know, we try to do that in the city manager's weekly update, but we can always do a better job.